welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. And today on the show, I've got Will Williams returning to the podcast to talk about Final Destination Bloodlines. And if you had told me like a month ago that my favorite movie of the year so far was going to be a Final Destination movie, I would have said that you're completely out of your mind. But I had so much fun with this movie, and I had so much fun talking about it with Will. So we got a great conversation coming up here in a moment. Before we get to it, as a reminder, we got a lot of piecing it together on the way. So make sure you are subscribed. Wherever you're listening right now, hit that subscribe or that follow, or I don't know, maybe it's a plus icon, or it could be, like add to favorites. I don't know what it is. Whatever the button is in the app you're listening to this podcast on right now happens to look like, click that button so you'll find out about all the new episodes as they come out. And with that said, let's get to this conversation about Final Destination Bloodlines. All right, Will Williams is back with us to get into some Final Destination. How's it going, Will?
It's going well. How are you?
I am great. So I got to say this at the top of this episode here. So First of all, I'm not that I didn't like the original Final Destination movies, but I'm not like a Final Destination diehard. But with that said, going into this movie, this has been a bit of a bummer movie year so far for me. But I had such a blast with this movie that I feel like it's turned my whole year around, and I'm so excited to talk about it.
I'm so glad to hear that. I am a diehard Final Destination person, with the caveat that like they're not good.
Sure. Yeah.
They're not good movies, but I love them very dearly. My favorite before this one was the third, which is also arguably like the most misogynistic, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect mix of like fun and stupid and ridiculous and gory. But this one was a good movie. Yeah. This one was actually a good movie.
Yeah, it deserves every dollar it's making at the box office. Because I mean, come on, this is just, it takes the very ridiculous but very fun concept of what these movies are and just goes to the nth degree and just makes something that's just really awesome with it and really fun.
Yeah, it is such a love letter to the series from like modern creatives.
Yeah.
Do you know the story about how these directors landed getting to take this film?
I do not. I want to hear this.
It's one of my favorite stories of Hollywood in the last couple of years. So they heard that the studio was looking for directors writers, directors for a new Final Destination. You know, it's been like over 10 years since the last one. They had a producer involved. And the way that they did their pitch was over a Zoom call. And the two directors, they were in the same place. If I'm remembering correctly, it was like a sort of cabin, and they were right by a fireplace. And there's like all like little decor and stuff that they're just kind of messing with as they go. And as they're like quite a ways through this pitch meeting, the fire flares up and one of them caught on fire. And the other one is like, oh shit, and like putting it out. And, you know, everybody was like, whoa, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. They go back to their pitch meeting. They're talking about it. And then a thing hits another thing. And long story short, one of the directors gets decapitated by the ceiling fan.
Oh, amazing.
And they had seamlessly transitioned from their live actual Zoom call to a pre-recorded full out Final Destination death. They had the fake out in there and everything. And it was like in the middle of this pitch meeting. So it's such a bold move, because like that could have just been deeply traumatizing for everybody on the other side of the call. But instead they were like, yeah, no, you get it.
Yeah, no, these guys get it. Absolutely. I love that so much. And last year on my Smile 2 episode, for a clip from the episode, I took my Riverside recording and I cut in, instead of the actual video of me, it was me, and I just turned to the camera and start smiling while the guest was talking. And
amazing.
Yeah, so I appreciate that a lot. I definitely appreciate that.
Yes.
That's so much fun. Well, we will get into a lot of the things we like about this movie along the way, but let's start getting into puzzle pieces. What do you have for your first one?
So my first one is going to be a pull that is crazy, but I could not stop thinking about it. Have you ever watched the Venture Brothers?
I have, but only like a couple of drunken late nights with friends, so I don't really remember it too well,
That's the right way to watch it.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
what it's worth.
Yeah.
It is one of those shows from like early era Adult Swim that aged like milk, but also is kind of genius. Like some of it is like some of the best TV writing I've ever experienced, just with the caveat of like they were going for some edgy jokes and those edgy jokes not good.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of the show is that it's sort of like a parody of the like 60s, 70s like adventure. I'm a little detective boy going on my adventure where there's like zombies and mummies, or like I'm doing an Indiana Jones thing. They like directly parody Scooby-Doo several times. And the thing about the Venture Brothers is, first off, it is like deeply centered in that mid-century sort of aesthetic. And then also, it is a show about failure. It is a show where like everything that could possibly go wrong does go wrong, and then more things even than that go wrong, and then the episode's over.
Yeah, sure.
There's like no resolution.
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare. And that whole spectacular intro sequence where it is, I think, like, again, like late 60s, early 70s in this gorgeous, beautiful, spinning restaurant on like this sky needle where everything is in that sort of mid-century aesthetic. And then everything, the thing about this intro scene is that it's not even a normal Final Destination intro scene, because those have something that like terrible that happens, right? But it's usually just like one.
Right. One
terrible thing.
Yeah.
And this was like, everything's on fire. The kid's throwing the penny. The glass is shattering. The stairs explode for reasons I don't understand, but I like it. It was like one after the other. And the whole time I was just thinking of the Venture Brothers. And like, it's like it came straight out of an episode.
Yeah, it's just like a nihilistic view of like everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And that's going to come up in another one of my puzzle pieces later, but I love that. And I do appreciate that kind of, I guess, point of view, but at the same time, it's just having fun with it. It's not like, I'm sure that these directors are not very negative or very, maybe not even nihilistic, but they just love having fun with these giant set pieces and just throwing shit at the wall and everything goes bad. And thank God for it, because I mean that whole opening sequence is just incredible.
Oh, so good.
Spectacular. One moment after another. It's just so good. Yes. I will actually, I'm going to kick it off with two that I'm going to combine because we're talking about the opening sequence, and they're the two puzzle pieces I thought of for the opening sequence. So first of all, I'm going Titanic. We have this big like science fiction horror version of what happens on the Titanic, with everybody falling to their death and hitting, exposed rods on the way down. And again, just everything that could go wrong goes wrong. I mean, that is something that happens in Titanic as well. I mean, it's not just hitting the iceberg. It's like they get, flooded in there and then everybody's falling and like all the bad stuff is happening. So I threw Titanic on there, and then to combine with it, I couldn't stop thinking of the Isley Brothers shout and the Animal House scene from the classic comedy Animal House. And I mean, there's probably other great cinematic versions of shout playing while everything just goes crazy, but that is one of the iconic moments of comedy of that era. And here we're getting it to a soundtrack that's just horrific horror sequence, which is a really fun way to kind of twist that idea because it's such a fun song,
Yes. Yeah, the soundtrack the whole time. This is another thing that shows like how deep into Final Destination they are, because each of those films kind of has a single song as a motif that comes up to foreshadow like you are about to very bad die. This one just had, I think, just a great soundtrack. The needle drops were all really solid. They were like a little on the nose and funny without being super obnoxious, Yeah. Great pull.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to another one. What do you got next?
Yeah. Next, I think I'm going to stick with this like mid-century sort of feel. Ouija Origin of Evil is not a movie I would ever think to watch. I don't care about the Ouija series at all.
Is this the good one though? Because I know people say people say there's one good one in that whole series. So there you go.
Yes. The reason it's good is because it's an early Mike Flanagan.
Mm.
So, the person who would later go on to do the Haunting of Hill House series, Midnight Mass, which is a masterpiece to me. Ouija Origin of Evil is sort of, it really is like the origin story of this like haunted Ouija board. And somehow Mike Flanagan makes it good. It's set, again, like I think early 70s. It is about, I believe, the mom of who I assume is the protagonist later on. Maybe. I've never watched any of the others and I shan't. But the whole concept is that she is a fake psychic. But she's got this, this toy that is actually becoming like fully for real haunted. And thinking of specifically the focus on the family legacy of this sort of like curse/gift in the family in this Final Destination, where we have, this recent, I guess not ancestor, but the grandmother who's of that era, who has this gift and like is looking for how to interact with this and her family. And it winds up like, for a good deal of generations, just like ripping the family apart. I found a lot of that DNA in Flanagan's Origin of Evil. Just granted, that one is like very serious and very depressing. But the combination of the eras, the family lineage, the tension therein, I think lots of shared DNA there.
No, absolutely. I think that is a good one. And I think I did see it when it came out. And it was like we just said, it's the good one of that series. But
shockingly.
I know, right? I'm going to combine with your Ouija Origin of Evil because I've, again, got one that just kind of goes right along with it. And that's Annabelle Creation, which it tells the origin of this doll. And it, in essence, is kind of filling in the gaps, even though it's doing it very loosely, of this series that it kind of all goes together, but it doesn't really have to from, episode to episode, from movie to movie. But this way, we kind of get a way to kind of stitch it all together and make it into an actual series. And Final Destination Bloodlines definitely does kind of fill in those gaps and give you that origin. It gives you the future and everything else kind of fits together. I'm curious, like I said, I've seen at least the first 2 or 3, but back on like opening weekends, and I haven't seen them since then. I'm curious to watch them all now and just see if you see little, Easter eggs or things that like kind of pull them all together that way.
The Final Destination series?
Yeah, exactly.
So I did a rewatch of all of them in prep for recording.
Nice.
And it is astounding how many Easter eggs there are without them being obnoxious. The penny is one. The seeing is believing is one. Obviously, the big truck with the logs.
Sure.
Yeah. Obviously, gotta throw it in. There's tons. Even the character who died and then came back and sort of escaped the curse that way. That's a character from Final Destination 2. And then, of course, like, needs must be said, Tony Todd's character in this series makes easily his most prominent appearance yet. He has been in all of the Final Destinations except for the 4th, I want to say. And he was only a very brief voice in the 3rd. But in the others, he's always this, like, here's the lore.
Sure.
He's like that kind of vehicle character. He's like vaguely spooky because he's Tony Todd.
Sure.
And in this film, this was his last role before he passed away. He knew that he was dying when he made the film, and they let him improvise.
Right, I read that.
Like
that's so cool. What a wonderful thing to do,
Yeah. And one of my favorite actors, his passing was like such a blow. I really think that his role in Candyman like changed to horror forever, pretty much. Yeah. So definitely my favorite callback there. I just think that was such a beautiful moment. But go back and watch them all. It's very fun. You'll find tons of connections. Maybe maybe don't watch them all. Maybe watch 1 through 3.
Okay, fair.
You can stop there.
I think that's a good plan for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out of order here, and I'm going to jump in
Yes.
with another one because we're talking about Tony Todd, and I was kind of thinking of the treatment of Tony Todd in this movie. I was thinking of Top Gun Maverick and giving Val Kilmer that big final moment to just kind of, he's on screen and we're all celebrating him. The movie is celebrating him. The filmmaker is celebrating him. And it was a beautiful moment and it worked so well. And also, you know, we're talking about how the original Final Destination movies are just kind of like goofs, you know, and like, but this one's actually really good. I kind of feel that way about Top Gun Maverick. I never was particularly a big fan of the original, but then they came out with this insanely great legacy sequel after all these years. So kind of both movies take this like small bit of cult reverence for these series and really do something special with them, but especially because of the Tony Todd and Val Kilmer, the way that both movies are using them and to kind of expand upon their legacy and give them this big final moment.
Yeah. Did not expect in the middle of this film that is both like very suspenseful and also extremely hilarious. Like, I don't know about you, but my theater going experience, everybody was laughing.
Wonderful.
Everybody was like, yeah, so good. Such a good theater experience. When that kid gets hit by the piano, somebody in our theater went, thank God.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah. By the way, speaking of that, I saw it in 4DX. And so it was so much fun. They've been doing a really great job of advertising this movie. And they have like an advertisement that's like, see it in 4DX, and they show like people dying basically in the theater. And I was like, I better die in this movie theater, you know? And I didn't, but it was an absolute blast. And everyone just in between all the laughing, just screaming from everything shaking and getting blown water and all that stuff. And it was wonderful. It was great.
That's amazing. Yeah, this was such a fun theater experience. I don't even remember why I brought this up. I'm just like enraptured in the feeling of being there again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's go to another piece. What do you got next?
Yeah. Let's see. I think for my list, the next one I'm going to pull out is I got to pull on, again, I think some of this humor. So my first thought was Get Out, right? Like we've got this blending of horror and comedy. It works really well. The two emphasize each other. But there was something else there that was like trying to pull me back to it. This movie made me think so much of a movie I do not think about often. I feel like it got kind of memory hold. Zombieland.
Okay.
It gave me such big Zombieland energy between, again, the mixing of comedy, being very stylized, also having these like big action scenes and paying a lot of attention to like going over the top. Like it's such an extra film. But then also, one of the things I think a lot about in Zombieland is that turn where it becomes really lovely and really sentimental. Thinking of that scene with Woody Harrelson talking about like, oh, I lost my dog meant everything to me. And then we find out that it was his daughter. Like he's fully lying. That family feeling, because like by the end we do have this, you know, found family sort of feeling. And then tying that to like actual family and this hint of sentimentality in horror mixed with the humor, tonally speaking, that was like on the tip of my tongue until just recently. And I think given like the ages of the creative team, what have you, I would be shocked if they weren't at least like subconsciously, you know, rolling that over in their minds while making this.
I think that's definitely fair. I also think, you know, as far as Zombieland, like obviously Woody Harrelson was a big star, but Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, Abigail Breslin, all at the beginnings of their career. And I haven't heard of any of the actors in this Final Destination movie. I'm not sure where they all kind of came from. I know it's been written about that the tattooed guy, he was in Trick or Treat as a kid.
He was.
Yeah. So, but other than that, like, I don't know any of these people. And so I'm curious to see if we'll see more from all of them.
I'm hoping, and I'm especially hoping for Anna Sale, who played Julia, who actually, I know of her through podcasting. She was one of the voice actors on the very beloved fiction podcast, The Bright Sessions. And as soon as I saw her up on screen, I was like, hold up, hold up, wow. I know of you. And then her death was just marvelous. Yeah. So for her sake, for podcasting's sake, for The Bright Sessions' sake, I hope she gets more work after this.
That's
this cast was... These performances were so good. I don't think when I think of these movies, I don't think of like people giving performances.
Sure.
I think the one other person did is Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the final girl and female lead of Final Destination 3.
She's always great in everything.
She's so good. And she was like in it. Her performance is really like vulnerable and very like tortured by what she's been through. She is in a fully different movie. Everybody else, but the movie that she's in is a better movie. Absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to see her in that when I do my little rewatch. Eventually, I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah. And Carly Rae Jepsen. Don't forget, Carly Rae Jepsen is in it.
Oh my God, I did not know that. So
yes.
Wow.
Wild.
Good for her.
Yeah.
So I will go to for my next one. So I do think that this movie is mostly just silly fun, and I don't think it was too interested in getting into many themes or any of that kind of stuff, and I think that's perfectly fine. But if there is a theme, if there is one, it's kind of the generational effects through the family tree of what all this has done to these people. And so I was thinking of Ari Aster's Hereditary as a puzzle piece here.
I was so close to putting this on my list, and then I was like, is the peanut thing too on the nose?
Sure,
but like it's there, right? It's there.
It's right there, absolutely. And this movie, it does it all very surface level, and but in the best possible way, because we don't want to bog it down with any of that stuff. But at the same time, Hereditary taking things in much darker, more deeper ways into what everything that this family has done in the various generations, how it all affects them going down the line, and the sins of the parents and all that stuff. So there's a lot there, but definitely you took the words right out of my mouth. You go to the peanut and boom, you're there. Yep. So absolutely. What do you got next?
Let's see. I think next I'm gonna pull kind of a weird one that like felt strange, but I think it's there. Inception.
Okay.
The thing I'm thinking of here is specifically the combination of the use of a recurring image that is an item that is asking you a question and asking you to doubt, plus big old train. So I'm thinking of the penny. So the penny that we get from this kid, he's flipping this coin and he's throwing these pennies off of this Sky Needle sort of location, and that's what causes really everything to go super haywire. And then that same penny winds up returning in that very final scene where we hear the main character didn't actually die. She wasn't dead. She wasn't fully resuscitated. She was just like hardcore knocked out. And then we get the penny that is here to ask you the question. We see it rolling around. Ask you the question of like, are they good?
Right.
Are they good or not? And then we get a big train disaster.
Sure. Good way to put it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like that though. You get that item that it kind of it doesn't give you any answers, but you feel like you're getting the answers from it. That's why it's there. But then it's like really you're just screwed either way. So that's an interesting one to include here. I like that a lot. I will go to my last like good one that I have on my list here, and I got a couple others that maybe I'll bring up. I don't know, but
sure.
The last good one, and it's also kind of not a good one because it's too new to really be a real influence on this movie. But earlier this year, we had a movie that was very, very inspired by the Final Destination movies, and it is Osgood Perkins' The Monkey, which it's funny that you were my guest on our Longlegs episode last year, and Osgood Perkins came back with a much sillier, goofier, more ridiculous movie that was a clear riff on Final Destination. And
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so much fun. And honestly, these two movies are kind of my two favorite movies of the year right now, which is so funny considering that they're both movies about bad shit happening, like constantly, just these nihilistic bad things happening to people for no good reason kind of thing. And they so it's more of a companion piece and something that like actually inspired this movie, but at the same time, they both fit really well together. And definitely if you like this movie, go watch The Monkey.
I gotta. I've been meaning to, and now I absolutely will. How full circle.
I know, right? It's perfect.
That's so nice.
Perfect.
And also, needs to be asked, have you seen Sinners yet?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It was
That's
very
gotta
good.
be up there, right?
It's top 10 for sure.
Okay, good.
Yes.
It's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's all of my like for real picks. I do think it's worth saying, like, probably this was also very deeply inspired by Flatliners.
Yes.
But I have never seen Flatliners.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but that was definitely one I was kind of thinking about bringing up. But like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I didn't throw it on the list. I was trying to think of a good clairvoyant movie. I mean, we had Madam Web last year, which I do love. We had I Know Who Killed Me with Lindsay Lohan, but we won't bring that up here. I
Throw
don't know.
in That's So Raven.
There you
know?
go. Okay, sure. I didn't realize she had clairvoyant powers.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Maybe I should watch that one day. But all right, I think we got enough here. We got enough really good puzzle pieces for this list. Any closing thoughts? Anything we didn't quite talk about that you wanted to bring up here?
No, I don't think so. I adored this. I think all of the characters worked so well. It's so crazy that they're actual like characters with like personalities that are more than one single stereotype. I loved all of the performances, especially Peanut Brother. I think he killed it.
Yeah.
He was so funny. And I think we got like easily some of the best deaths in the series so far. One of the reasons that I think that you should avoid Final Destination 4 and 5 is, first off, they suck. Like, really like unfun, bad.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that like those films really lost what makes Final Destination good. Less so the fifth one. The fifth one kind of like almost is a little bit like a satire of itself, which can be fun. But the problem with them is that they don't have the mousetrappiness and they don't have the fake outs. Instead, it's sort of just like a terrible thing happens to someone who sucks. And the terrible thing is a freak accident. But there isn't like the same buildup and the same, they don't pull on fears that are actual fears.
Right.
You know? And this one, like, I mean, thinking again about the death in the garbage truck with the trash compactor. Like, I know personally as a child, I was scared of exactly that happening to me somehow. Yeah. And the combination of mousetrappiness and pulling on those fears that we've all had, same with like a glass floor, the fear of heights, like so good, so good. Easily my favorite in the series. Almost feels like unfair to put in the running because it is just a different tier of filmmaking.
Yeah, for sure. I will just throw in there, and I'm going to get into big spoilers here for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. Go watch it because it's so much fun.
Go watch it.
But another thing I really loved about this movie is all of the deaths they kind of hint at in the trailers happen in completely different ways. And
yes,
that is so refreshing for a horror movie. Usually you see all the big deaths in the trailer and you're like, oh, I already saw all this, you know? But the tattoo guy, that not being his death scene. I mean,
he didn't even die.
Yeah, that was shocking. The glass and the drink, that did not go how we expected. I mean,
not even a little.
Yeah, it's just all of that stuff was completely different, and that is really refreshing. And you know, shout out to the advertising team for this movie for actually not spoiling things.
Yeah, when I went into it, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's gonna be kind of boring because like I've seen the trailers, like I know,
right.
And like no. Not even a little, not having that be that guy's death when it was like the most immediately gruesome and nightmarish, and having it just because.
I love that he's basically fine in the next scene. He's just like, it didn't matter
totally
at all.
Chill.
It's just totally cool.
Is that why he always wanted to play catch?
Yeah, right.
So good.
Good stuff all around. I love it.
Oh,
well, this is a great movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
Well, is there another movie you watched recently you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
Ooh, you know, I'm going to cheat here. Yeah, I'm going to say go watch Final Destination 3. Okay. The cast is insane. We've got Ramona Flowers, we've got Carly Rae Jepsen, and the other lead is Ryan Merriman, who was just in a bunch of like Disney Channel original movies. That's hilarious. The initial death scene is, again, one of those like great fears that we all have, and it's so catastrophic. The rest of the deaths are all wild and funny and fun and engaging and stupid. It is like this, the perfect combination of suspense and like dumb fun, just being like an exponentially worse film, but it's a great fun watch. Highly recommend.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to my revisiting of those movies. And Will, tell people where they can find you and everything you're up to.
Yeah, you can find my work over at hughouse.productions, which is my podcast collective where I make different shows. I do marketing work over at Tink Media. And I am not really on social media much anymore, which is amazing. You can find me on Blue Sky if you can find me.
Awesome. I'm working my way towards getting off of it all, but we'll see if it happens.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying. But Will, thank you so much for joining me again, and hopefully we'll get you back again sometime.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad that I called dibs on this one early.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Final Destination Bloodlines. Thank you to Will Williams for joining me on that one. Thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, I already told you to make sure you're subscribed. You should be subscribed by now, but you could also follow me on social media at PiecingPod, even though I'm trying to get off of social media, but I don't know, it's a long process. You could also check out my Substack. You could do that. That way we don't have to do the whole social media thing, and I could just email you when I got stuff coming out. So go check that out as well. I do have a Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, which it's kind of handcuffs at this point. I cannot let go of it because I actually have managed to build a community of cool, movie-loving people in the vast wasteland that is Facebook of just monsters and awfulness. And I'm going to hold on to that group as long as I can. So even though I might be on the other social medias less, you will still find me in the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group. So do join over there and join in the conversation. And yeah, you know, we got other stuff going on, but you could check the show notes for everything else. More live shows on the way as well, so keep an eye out for that. But with that said, we got to close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And what should I play to close out today? I certainly have a lot of killer music about dark stuff, all of the kind of things that I do. But what should I play specifically? Let me find something here. You know what? I don't think I've played this one in a long, long time, so I'm going to go with the track from my album, An Unseen Sky, which I believe came out in 2015, 2014, somewhere around there. But this is definitely one of those darker tracks. It's called Into the Black. So I hope you enjoy it. I think it'll fit nicely with the tone of Final Destination Bloodlines, and we will be back with more piecing it together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.